Greetings. Today I want to speak to you concerning Neville Goddard, unknown mentor. You see, Neville spoke of a mentor who he claimed to be a black mystic from Ethiopia by the name of Abdullah. But if you look carefully and you check out the Bible, you'll see the characters in the Bible, they have no surname. Just like Abdullah have no surname. And there's no historical evidence to prove that these characters ever exist. Same thing with Abdullah. And so, for years, I've known this. That's why I make sure construct this channel called Abdullah and Neville Goddard. And I even put a Bible together where Jesus have been omitted. And there's a blank space for you to write your name. And your name is I Am. Okay, I leave that blank space for you. And I dedicate it to Abdullah and Neville Goddard. But all along I knew that there is a science that has been known from since the dawn of time. And it has been hidden in symbol through our ancestors who put it together. And as I'm speaking to you presently now, there are many people in my country who is living or who are living testimony of what I am saying, but they do not know. And so to cut a long story short, in my country and around the Caribbean islands, you have a sect of people that they refer to as the spiritual Baptists, who will tell you the things that they do came all the way from Africa and that they are the only true religion. But the thing is, this science have nothing to do with religion. The reason why they think that it was a religion, it is because it has always been encoded. And because the plantation owners who have owned slaves in these parts didn't quite understand it, the most they could have done is polluted it. They could have just polluted with the inclusion of white Jesus, blonde hair, blue eye Jesus, and the misinterpretation of the Bible to basically jar them away from their science that was leading them all the way back to nature. And so many people are familiar with the Haitian people and their voodoo and voodoo. But many people do not know much about Shakerism, okay? And it started in my country. And the Prime Minister of my country, whose ancestry you could trace all the way back to Europe, what he did just recently, he told the spiritual Baptists that he's giving them a public holiday, and he gave them a public holiday, and there was big celebration and everything. But long before that, for years, I've been going around and doing a little bit of, what I would say, like a little bit of interview with them in terms of asking them questions. I meet them, and ask, oh, why you just like this, why this is there, why that is there, and so on and all of that. Okay, and they don't know. And then I would ask them, why were you persecuted and you couldn't practice, your religion? I would say religion to them, okay, so that I wouldn't really offend them, okay. And they don't know, okay. It reminds me of the people who normally speak about the Holocaust, because they're behind all this, okay. They always say how they were persecuted and what was done in Auschwitz and all of that, Auschwitz and so on, right? But they never really say the real reason why. Same thing, these people do not know the reason why. And so there's an area, okay, in my country where I think it's the 14th of March. Every year they normally go there and have the ceremony and say it is National Hero Day, okay, in my country. And that area, the population up there are these light-skinned people who these Europeans, when they rape the women in the islands and so on, and they make children with them, they didn't take them back to Europe, they leave them there and they pass on secret from lip to ears to them concerning what they would have done in the islands. okay, to the people. So they will continue to be the ruling class. Okay. And so Neville Goddard family is basically a part of the ruling class in my country. Okay. Though they change the name over the years from Goddards and Sons to the name they have now and so on. Okay. And so when I look at this name Abdullah, but there's no surname. It's the same thing like these characters in the Bible. And when you look at the Never Goddard phenomena and the internet, I know that was going to happen. And all these people putting up all these videos with Never Goddard, Never Goddard, Never Goddard. What they're doing, and they will always catch you with that. Whenever a man is alive, they will call him a fanatic. They will say all negative things about him. But when he's gone, they will create a religion around that person. And most people get caught up in the religion and don't even know it's a religion. And though they claim to be spiritual, and though they claim that they're out of the church system and so on, then they end up and they worshiping someone else's ancestor and fail to realize what's been done to them. Okay. And so I never get in that and that never got that hype train, bandwagon, because I knew that his Wikipedia was removed. And I knew what was there before they removed his Wikipedia and remove certain things from it. Okay. And so these families have always kept certain secrets. That is why throughout the islands there's so much fraternity and different brotherhood. And they just teach them a little metaphysics because they know that they're those who would vibrate to a certain level of frequency and realize themselves mystically. Okay, so they've always been a mystical bloodline and a mystical order among melanated people. Okay, that passed down all the way from Africa. And that's why we still have a spiritual science. And we will always have the spiritual science. So these people are doing all of the practices, but they can't decode it. Yeah. So it takes one like myself who could channel the ancestors and I could decode everything what they're doing and show you the science. That's why even before he gave them a holiday, I wrote a book and I have to search up the house and find back that book and get it published called Dobshan Yoga, Divine Order of Black Technology, Innovation of Nature. Okay. And when I say yoga, it just speaking about unity and oneness with the universe and so on. Okay. And with nature. Okay. So they've always been a spiritual system. We have always had a spiritual system. Okay. But there's a people on this planet that have never had a spiritual system. That is why in 1948, they did everything that they could have done to create a nation in 1948. And from that time, they've been vampiring and the ignorance of people. Okay. And have them saying that when they bless that nation, that they will be blessed. It's part of the brainwash. Okay. So you have to ask yourself why Neville Goddard came up with what he was saying. But when you dig deeper, okay, you will realize why this Abdullah have no surname and why he linked him back to Ethiopia. When you really understand, you know, the kingdom of Ethiopia and the other kingdoms of Africa, and you understand how close you are to the sun and why they give you the S-O-N instead of the S-U-N and why colonization still working. You understand? Like, for example, in my country, you know, they are building more and more resorts to enslave the people. You understand? For example, I wrote a book called Bukumembe Resort and the Messenger. I would definitely go check out that book. Like, for example, in my country, they have the Sandals Hotel, okay, and resort, and that is part of the ruling class system that they set up. Because in the school system, they set up the school system to enslave the people from small. Okay, so they go and they work at these hotels and so on, and they believe that these politicians are providing jobs for them because they do not understand the power of their mind. They do not understand money, and they do not understand currency and they do not understand energy, vibration, and frequency. Okay, and so, for example, it was just this morning I was saying, like by the Sandals Hotel, they have certain houses built in the water, and the payment that the guests would pay, if you take at least just 4 or 3 of those cabanas or whatever name you call them, and the 10,000 that they might have to pay, like per night or whatever, that is enough to pay about 40, 50, or even 60 people in my country, because they may paid minimum wages. As a matter of fact, when they started the sandals in my country, the government raised the minimum pay for workers, because it was below $1,000 a month. So for it not to look so bad, he had to change it to accommodate the Sandals Hotel, Adam Stewart and them. Okay, after they conquer these people already conquered Jamaica. Now they want to conquer these other islands. So I'm saying all of these things to get you to really think, okay, and to measure Neville Goddard and his teaching, and see that he wasn't bringing anything new. And if you really, really, really knew the first time he started looking into psychical things and so on, it was when he went to England and he met a certain man, okay, who gave him many books and so on. And you will hear how many times he speak about William Blake and so on too, okay? So my brother, my sisters, you know, you have to understand parody too, right? And you have to understand, you know, certain things. And that's why my book called The Black Mystic from Ethiopia, Neville Goddard, mentor many, many, many Caucasian people was disappointed when they find the book and get the book, and the way how I was exposing them and their ancestors and so on, what they would have done. And to show you, if there was such a man named Abdullah, what Abdullah was communicating secretly when you read between the lines, okay? And, you know, it didn't rub them in a nice way. They make all kind of comment. They say, oh, he's out of alignment, he's this, he's that. Okay, so my brother, my sister, I'm just doing this video to really get you to look into Neville Goddard, work even more deeper as a melanated person, and don't get caught up with the hype. Okay, manifestation is taking place, whether consciously or unconsciously. Manifestation has all been taking place. The law of attraction has always been taking place. But waking up out of the dream of life, coming to know that your real identity is your divinity, having the real birth from within, the birth from the skull, and understanding that the greatest lie that have been ever fed to humanity is that Jesus and Mary's story, and you are a melanated person, and your parents bring you up in such a stupidity. That is what they don't want you to find out, because you will become empowered. So don't just follow hype. Okay? Think more deeply. Get out of the monkey mind and learn to think for yourself. Okay? So with that being said, my brother, my sister, I can go on and on and on and on, but definitely going to come to a close, and I want to thank you very much for listening to me. I want to say to you, if this is the very first time that you listen to me, what I've said, it will really make sense, it will really resonate with you, and you haven't subscribed already, I'm definitely encourage you to subscribe, to like, to comment, and to share this video. Also, if you like to follow me on Instagram, you like to follow me on TikTok, you can definitely follow me on Black Math Guru. And if you like to book a one-on-one with me, chat me an email. We can do that one-on-one on WhatsApp or on Zoom. If not, we can do that one-on-one on an app called Faithia, but that is definitely a religious app. But I take the opportunity to teach my spirituality there. So if you want to do a one-on-one with me there, it's fine with me. Also, if you would like to take my course called The Inner Sun Science and Technology to Create Your Reality Consciously, and along with that is a bonus course on self-concept. That's what people are doing it in $20 or more on my Patreon. You have access to all of those videos, to listen to them and to help in your spiritual journey. And if you haven't gotten my books, I think I would have mentioned that before, but if you haven't gotten my books as yet, the links are in the description. They are all available on Amazon. Okay, you have about 10 or more books to choose from, plus my gratitude journal for him and for her, starting with I am so happy and grateful now, and you could follow out the rest. Okay, and you could journal your life whichever way you want it to be. So my last encouragement to you is to make sure that you check out all of the links that are down below, and definitely let your intuition, I would always say that and I will say it again, let your intuition lead you and guide you into what to do. So with that being said, I just want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.